Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Living Lives. Today, in my diffuser, I have chosen Arbor Vitae. And I chose that because Arbor Vitae is the oil of divine grace. And it is grounding oil that teaches divinity is all around. God's grace can be felt and experienced here on earth, and it is not distant or separate. And I thought that might be a good oil for today, since my guest is Mataji Katie Augustyn, who is the spiritual head of the Transformation Center. She's a certified professional coach, master healer of One Light Healing Touch, and a certified shamanic practitioner. She has an MA from the Graduate Institute of Organizational Leadership and hosts the Katie Augustyn Spiritual Connection TV show. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you, Wayne. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
My pleasure. Yeah. So tell us a little about yourself.
Okay. So you probably want to know about like my spiritual journey is what I'm thinking.
Yes.
So, it started, I think, about 15 years ago. And prior to that, I just had this feeling that there was something missing in my life, even though I had a great life. Everything, was really good externally. But I realized that what was missing was a spiritual connection. I'd been brought up, raised Catholic, but I never really got into that so much. It just didn't resonate with me so much. So I just had a void, so I wasn't searching. I just became aware that something was missing. And the way I did that was because I met Rada, Kathy French, her spiritual name is Rada. And she was teaching a class in energy healing. And that's the One Light Healing Touch that you mentioned. And so I just decided to do that without knowing anything about it. And I just jumped in and I said, I'm going to see what this is about. And really things just opened up from there. That was the beginning, like I said, about 15 years ago. Yeah, I can continue with what after that.
Maybe if you talk about what Mataji means.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
How you have that name as well.
Right. So through Rada, I then met another spiritual teacher who was actually her spiritual teacher, and her name is Samyama. And she is the founder of a lineage here on Earth. And through her, I received the spiritual name Mataji, which is basically a translation would be like revered mother or respected mother. And I am a mother, so I think that's why she gave me that name. And then I became part of that whole group, that spiritual group. I decided to become a professional coach during that time. There's lots of things that I've learned along the way. And coaching is a way that you first learn about yourself and your values and your needs. And this was an area for me that was kind of new. And one thing that I discovered was that, we all have inside of us what we need. And as a coach, we just help you bring that out. But I discovered that there was a lot of stuff about myself that I hadn't really addressed, shall we say, from my childhood, things like that. And so everybody has that. And so that's what a coach can do, is just help you discover really who you truly are. And so whatever my path was, and what I'm still on the path, there's no destination. You never get somewhere. You just keep journeying and keep evolving. But that's what I help other people do now is the same thing that I did, basically.
It's funny, I've done a lot of, personal growth work as well. And it's interesting how, there is so much to do and we don't realize how far we have to go until we actually get on the journey. And then once we get to a place, we realize, wow, there's still so much I have to do. It's a continual life work. And, it's what is the saying, when we stop growing, we die. And you can see that in people when they just stop learning and growing, that they tend to actually, you can watch it in, unfortunately, in some elderly people who stop doing some stuff, and then they just fade quicker. And that goes for anybody of any age, really. When you're not spreading your wings and growing a little bit and learning something, even if it's taking up a new language, but the spiritual language is definitely a language that a lot of people shy away from.
Well, I think it can be maybe a little bit daunting at the beginning, because if it's new and there's so much there, but it's so rewarding to learn about yourself and to find out who you truly are. And my belief is that we're all spirits having a human experience. So God is in our heart, and therefore it's so much easier to love yourself when you know that, because I think we do have a tendency to sell ourselves short, or all we focus on is what maybe we don't want, within ourselves or in our lives, instead of focusing on what we have and what we can have, because I think we create the life that we want, and that's how it works.
I was on my rowing machine this morning, and I was listening to Brene Brown's latest podcast, and she was interviewing Willie and Lucas Nelson about their new album, the family album that's coming out.
Cool.
Actually, I think it just came out. But they were talking about how, and you hear this in so many different ways, but what you think about is where your energy, where the energy goes. So we always say, it's common in all of the work that we do, what you think about, where, I can't think of the succinct way of saying that, but it's, where intention goes, energy flows. So if if you concentrate on the negative, you're going to get the negative. But when you look at the spiritual side of things, it's really good to when you look at it, to bring those things in. And she was talking about, Brene was, about the veil being thin. That's a phrase that is used sometimes when people are, in contact spiritually with themselves or with someone else or with the universe or a higher power. And, in particular, they were talking about how music can help thin the veil, because it's, it can be so powerful and moving. But it's that whole connectivity, at a spiritual level, is also kind of interesting.
Yes. I also believe that that we're all one. So yes, there's a connectivity for sure. We're all connected, and that's a big core value of mine. As you know, it's all about spiritual connection.
Yeah.
But it's all energy. So we're literally all one with each other and with everything here on Earth and in the universe. So once you start to look at it that way, you can see how everything I do impacts you, and vice versa. So, once we know that and we take responsibility for our thoughts, it starts with our thoughts become words, which become, beliefs, which become our behavior, which then dictate everything. So if you start with your thought, and like you were saying, create that positive environment, nobody's perfect, but if you can just tell yourself empowering beliefs instead of those little lies that we've been telling ourselves for so many years, those limiting beliefs, that starts to shift things pretty rapidly once you learn to do that. Yeah.
Willie was mentioning that, when you put a thought out into the world, it's energy, and it goes around the world and comes back and gets you. So if you put a negative thought out, it's going to come back and bite you in the backside. But if you put a positive thought out, it's going to come out and push you forward.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of describing it, isn't it?
And it really, it does come back, which is kind of cool.
Well, and it actually very directly, because what I've learned is that what you want for yourself. Like if you want love, compassion, understanding, truth, all the things that we want for ourselves, if we embody that and we put it out there, then it will come back to us very directly. I've really seen that in action. So
like energies attract, and I've said it on the show before. If you take a series of tuning forks and put them on different sides of a stadium, and you ring the G tuning fork on one side of the stadium, the other one on the other side starts ringing, because likes attract. So when you put that positive energy out there, the positive energy comes back. The people who put road rage out there, well, all they ever see is road rage. And if you put the positive energy out there, you're gonna find that parking spot and get that. To put it into more tangible example.
Yeah, those parking angels are great, aren't they?
I had a story once. I went to visit a friend of mine down in Brooklyn, and I picked him up at his apartment, and we went up to the Heights, and I brought some coins because we're gonna have to park in a garage because we're never going to find anything on the street. I said, yes, we are. There's going to be one right around the corner. I've been thinking about it the whole way down. And sure enough, we got around the corner and a car pulled out just so I could pull in. So it was like, he still doesn't believe it because I've never seen that happen before. I said, it's what you put out there is what you get back. So
because you never tried it before. Right. And of course, if you don't believe it, then it has a little bit of a block there.
Yeah.
But I find that even, with people I work with, my clients and stuff, it's like, I tell them, you don't necessarily have to do anything or believe anything. Just be open.
Yeah.
Just be open and see what happens, see what comes, see what's there for you. Some people have a little bit trouble believing in energy healing to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You don't have to believe it. You really don't. You just have to be open and willing to receive it and see what's there for you. So.
Right. Because if you have that skepticism, that's the negative, and that's what's gonna be attracted. So it's
right. I mean, even if you don't have to like totally not believe it or totally, what I'm saying, but it's just like, just give it a chance and then let's see what happens. Yeah.
Right. So I know you sent me a slide, and let me put it up about your programs here. You want to talk about some of the stuff that you do at the Transformation Center?
Sure. This is our Transformation Center CT. This is the URL and the contact info there. And what we have is a series of different classes and workshops coming up. What we started it a couple of months ago is basically it's a class, and it's called Spiritual Connection and Evolution. And we're doing it on Saturday afternoons, the second Saturday of each month. And we're keeping it to a small group, no more than 6 people. So we really kind of get to know each other. And it's all about, where you are, starting where you are. And it's pretty individualized in that regard. And then we just see what comes up. But we're learning different spiritual practices. We're talking about a different topic each week. It's funny you mentioned Brene Brown, Wayne, because last month, well, it was this month actually, last couple of weeks ago, our topic was vulnerability.
Oh, and she's the queen of vulnerability.
She's totally, she's done so many TED Talks and books, and we had just read her book, Daring Greatly.
Oh, yeah, I've read that one.
That was the one that Beth Leiss had in her TLC book club. Yeah, and it's really all about vulnerability and how important that is in our lives, because if we're vulnerable, then the other person that we're interacting with can also be vulnerable. And it's about that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that class is coming up every month. And then we also have we have satsang. If you're not familiar with that, it's Sanskrit for in the company of truth.
Okay.
And it's a Sanskrit, it's really all over the world that people do satsang. It's a spiritual gathering. But again, we've gotten to the point where we do topics with that too. And since I love the 4 Agreements, the book by Don Miguel Ruiz. So last week we talked about the first agreement, which is be impeccable with your word and how we create as we speak. We're talking about our thoughts, and the words are even, more powerful in a way because you're putting it out there. You're getting it out there.
Yes.
Whether it's, speaking or writing or whatever. So that's something we do every month. You can just check that out on the website. That's usually.
Is that something that's done in person or over Zoom?
Well, we're doing it on Zoom. We did it in person in the summer months because we could meet outside.
Yep.
Now that it's cold, we decided we'll just do it on Zoom. Plus, as you do know this because you have this show, people can access it from everywhere.
Yeah, it's great.
So that's fun.
Great.
And then the other thing we do every month is a shamanic clinic. We didn't talk about the shamanism aspect of what I do, but I am a shamanic practitioner. So I do have private clients for that. But this thing is a clinic where you can find out about shamanic healing very easily. This is on Zoom also.
Okay.
So you sign up for a 30-minute segment. And it's basically a community offering, as satsang is. You can make a gratitude donation if you want to.
Okay.
But you sign up for 30 minutes, and then you can get an extraction healing right there on Zoom. Yeah, and that is every second Tuesday of every month. So all of this is on the website. People can check it out when they want to.
Cool. That's really that's exciting. Actually, I might actually try that out. I've never really explored shamanism at all, and I have a number of shamanic friends, yourself included. So it would be interesting for me to. I've always been not tempted. That's the wrong word. Interested in finding out a little bit more about it, and so I think I might. You might see me on one of those coming up.
That would be the perfect opportunity because, like I said, it's just 30 minutes, no commitment. It's I'd love to see you. And we have a number of practitioners. We usually have 2, 3, 4, whoever's available.
Okay.
So we just go in our little separate breakout rooms. There's one person that manages the whole thing. And then when people come on, you make your appointment from 6:30 to 7, for example. You come on at 6:30, you go to a breakout room, you do the session, you're done,
Okay.
And after the session, part of the deal is that we talk, so we describe what transpired. So it's a very empowering experience because you learn about yourself and what happened. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. I'll definitely have to look that up. It's probably not going to happen till January, but
right. Yeah, I know the holidays.
This month's over and next month's crazy. So, although the next year's starting to pick up already too. So,
that's good.
I'm excited about stuff that's happening, in my life as well. So it's really kind of cool with what's going on.
Yeah.
So, what's one thing that you'd like to leave my listeners with? If there's one thing that you could say to them, what's something that they should hear?
Yeah. I think can I say 2 things? Because
sure.
One thing is that I believe that we're all love.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's who we are, what we are. And it's all about, like Marianne Williamson's book called A Return to Love, that's God is love. So that's really what I'm about. I just want to, for me, love is not an emotion. It's a way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see love everywhere I look because that's who I am. And I see it in you. I see the best in you. I see the good in you. I see your beauty. I see your soul. I see who you really are. And I think that's just a great way to be, to be in this world. But then in conjunction with that what I said at the beginning, I think we all have inside of us what we need. And it's a matter of bringing it out. So just know that there's nothing wrong here. Whatever you're going through, it's for your growth. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. But you may need some assistance in uncovering what it is, what's really happening, and what you can learn from that experience.
Mhm.
So just have faith and love, and that's all there is.
Yeah, and there's lots of resources out there. You could work with, somebody like Katie here, or there's lots of other resources if that doesn't resonate with you, from therapists to Reiki practitioners and even massage therapists and essential oil coaches.
Absolutely, it's all
So,
great, because it's the body, mind, and spirit, and
correct. And we really have to treat them all together to thrive, because any part of that out of whack means we're not thriving, and that's one of the things that I like about my practice is I get to work with kind of with all three, because essential oils and touch and together can really work with body, mind, and spirit. And the oil I chose today is the oil of divine grace. So it's they can really help to enlighten physically as well as spiritually and emotionally. So
yeah, I agree. I can attest to that, because I had a session with Wayne a few weeks ago, the Symphony of the Cells, and it's marvelous. It opens things up. It releases things that you need to let go, whether it's an emotion or a stuck energy, or all of that it addresses. So I totally agree with you. Yeah. And that TLC is a good resource, because it has all the practitioners. Maybe you want to tell people, I'm sure you have before, but
Beth actually was a guest of mine at one point. So Beth Leiss has formed the TLC community, which is Total Life Care, I think. But there's a lot of resources that are available in that through members, and the members have, I don't know how many members she has at this point, but they're all energy healers and all sorts. Actually, they're all healers in every aspect of it, from a real estate person. I think there's a lawyer, there's all sorts of different healers, artists, Reiki practitioners, and I'm looking for
like musicians, sound healers, yoga teachers, you name it. And I think it's just Tribe TLC. Is that
I think that's what it is. I'm just looking that up.
Okay. I think tribetlc.com, and there's a directory on there that you can look at that tells you what everybody does, and you can and all the events that happen. Anyway, I think it's a wonderful resource, for myself and anybody, if you're just getting started and you're curious about any of this. It
is definitely. Now it's funny, I went to look for it, and now I lost you on my screen here. Where'd you go?
Oh, well, I don't know. I still see me and you.
There you are. I was looking for Tribe TLC is the website, and it brings you up to 203 TLC, which is the Connecticut version of it. So I put that in the chat for people so that they can find those locations with all the other practitioners that we work with, that we both work with, and they're all wonderful. And I know through the Barter Bonanza, I've been able to try a lot of the practitioners, and you probably have too. And so it's a great organization with great people that can help, and they make great gift certificates for yourself and for others, especially during the holiday season. As things get hectic and crazy, it's great to have sane resources to go to and relaxing and to treat your body, mind, and spirit. So it's, we have to keep them healthy, because if we don't keep ourselves healthy, we're not there to take care of anybody else.
That's a really good point. Self-care, it's so important. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. And if you can just hang out in the green room for a second while I wrap up the show, I'll be right back with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Wayne.
Oh, it was my pleasure. And I like the color you chose. We didn't plan this ahead of time. I chose this sweater because it's a very comfortable sweater. And anytime I'm with Katie, she always makes me feel very comfortable. That's why I chose this. But and then it's funny that we're both in almost the exact same colors. So
it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. And I love the arborvitae that you chose too. I'm gonna do that in my diffuser too. Thanks for the
There we go. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I'll be right back with you.
Thank you. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Well, next week, I've got a special guest host. The jolly old elf himself will be here to talk about ways to use holistic healing for Christmas gifts and Hanukkah gifts. And so watch the show next week and you'll get to meet Santa himself. And as always, and just so what I'd like to do is I'd like to also put up here, I have a personal shopper program, which you can go to on my Calendly account to book a personal shopping time that would, you can have your own one-to-one with me, and we can talk about how we can do, personal shopping for you for the, for the holiday season. So thanks for joining me. And as always, I like to end the show with, I encourage you all to go out, make a connection, and live your best lives. Thanks, and have a fantastic afternoon, everybody.